as time has passed. But I still want to say happy birthday to my son. He had a birthday yesterday, and I wish I could have been there with him, but uh, it's gonna be nice. He's gonna be down here soon. So anyway, all right. So I bring that up because I'm talking about parental supremacy. Why your parents are better than you for reasons. Now, that title's not going to bring people in, but maybe it'll help people that are parents to parent with a little more confidence, and that's my goal, to inspire confidence, clarity. Oh god, confidence, clarity. Oh, good stuff. It's hardly yawning. It's like 1 in the morning. What did I? Yeah, it's 1 in the morning. All right. So, parental supremacy. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below if you find this useful. Make sure you share it with people that are of like mind, meaning the upper 1% of people, the real 1%, not the fake 1%, not the Illuminati. Those people don't really have it. The Illuminati is a ripoff. It's like Psyches, not the real Nike. All right. So there's a Bible verse here, Deuteronomy 5:16. Honor thy father and thy mother as long as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. All right. You read this esoterically, as I've said it many times before, the Bible has many layers. This was pretty hard to be, it's not really much metaphor here. This is a very direct statement. There's no, I mean, I guess you say, your days prolonged in the land which the Lord God giveth you. There's a metaphor there, I guess. But this is a very clear statement, is what I'm saying. It's saying, honor your parents. The Lord has commanded it. Now, the esoteric understanding of this is honor thy father and thy mother. Thy father is thy conscious mind, is your conscious mind. Thy mother is thy unconscious, subconscious mind. The Lord God is superconscious, or the source code itself. And so, if you ignore what your conscious mind is aiming for, which is your father, then you're not going to get anywhere, because you're just going to be like a psychopath. If you only pay attention to what your subconscious mind is saying, you're not going to get anywhere, because you're going to be a psychopath as well. You're going to be like a child for the rest of your days. And so it's important to be able to understand that esoteric meaning behind this verse in Deuteronomy. But let's talk about how it pertains in the real world, in everyday life. So, like I talked about in the last video, parents have supremacy because of a natural order. In nature, there's a natural order, and animals understand this. This is why you see animals don't show a lot of pity, or it's like, for instance, you will see animals just leave their offspring if they feel like the resources aren't enough. They'll just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave these offspring, and they'll probably die, and I'll make more next spring when the resources are the way they need to be. Again, animals honor the law of God. They don't buy into a bunch of lies that they are perpetuated with and things like that. I'm not, again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that you should leave your kids are a pain in the ass, just leave them and let them suffer. No. What I'm saying is, animals understand the natural order, and that's where moral objectivity comes in. Again, that's what makes parents supreme. What also makes parents supreme is the irreplaceability factor. You cannot replace your mother. You cannot replace your father. Of course, you can have step parents or adopted parents, but they are never the generic progenitors of you. However, it's not an equal thing. There's nothing in life that is just equal, right? It's just like they try to say men and women are equal. They're not equal. They're two parts of one body. They're a right hand and a left hand and a right hand. But the same thing with parent to child. There's no equality here. And what we've done in the psychological world is we've said, and I'll get to psychology next, but what people have forgotten is that your parents are irreplaceable. Your parents can replace you, though. And this is the weird thing, is that a mother and a father can always have more children. A mother and a father can have 50 kids if they want. It's actually been done, right? There's a guy that had like one woman, and they had like 40 something plus births, and several of them were twins and things. It was in Russia back in the 1800s or something. Look it up. And so, yeah, These people, this one man and one woman, had a shit ton of kids. Now, all of those kids had those two parents. But those two parents were like, all those kids had to share those two parents. That, but the parents had like 50 kids that they could, if one child died, it would be tragic, it would be sad. Or if the child went away or strayed from the father's law or the mother's beliefs or whatever, then they could be like, well, Billy went and did his own thing, but we still have Johnny, Jack, Sally, Sue, Mary, Abraham, Johnny, all these other ones, Johnny 2, Johnny 28, we have all these other kids that we can give our love to and resources to, who will carry on our genetic um, future, right? And so there's that natural order. You can always replace your child. And this is a thing that people don't want to admit, especially in the West, where it's the nuclear family system. And this is a problem, again, like on the religious side and even the liberal side. Like, they have this idea that children are irreplaceable. In a lot of ways they are, because we love them with all our hearts and we want to see them happy and strong and healthy and good and all of that stuff. But the thing is, you can always have another child. That child can never have another you. And that's why the rift between child and parent is more hurtful to the child ultimately than the parent. The parent has to think, okay, I am hurt by this. They have to consciously accept that hurt. But if a child is separated and broken away from the parent, then it's much more destructive to the child, because there's wisdom that the parent has to share and all of that other stuff. And that goes to the natural order. The irreplaceability factor means that in society, those that are less replaceable, those that are irreplaceable, are more valuable. And this is an uncomfortable truth. I should just call my channel Uncomfortable Truths, because these are uncomfortable truths. But the more you get in line with them, you say, okay, I don't like this truth. And this truth doesn't reflect something that is an objective truth. And it doesn't reflect the world that necessarily I want to engage in. But I do observe that it exists. Now, how do I create my own life despite that? Whatever. And maybe you need to ignore these truths. If these truths are keeping you from your goals, turn this channel off, unsubscribe, and go follow your dreams and live a happy life. That's my ultimate goal. So if what I'm saying gets in the way of it, just ignore what I'm saying and unsubscribe. So the irreplaceability factor is really, really a big deal, because the people that are irreplaceable in society are the ones that matter. Like I said, we are at a point where quantum computing is meeting AI, and that means that billions of people will be replaced just like that. I'm saying like 5 billion people will absolutely be useless. There are computers right now, and the quantum computing and AI has already merged. That's already happened. It's already been perfected. It was probably perfected like 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, okay? But it's now being made public, and they're telling you, oh, look what we have, when they've had it forever. They never roll out technology like that as soon as they figure it out. There's always like a 30 to 80 year curve that the elites have on the lower people. And it's not like the elites like the puppeteers and the conspiracy shit. It's just that they're always ahead. You know, we're always ahead. I'm lucky that I get to see some of this stuff. I've been to some of these gatherings, and I've seen some things, and I'm telling you, what's coming down the pike it's literally gonna replace people. Like right now, it's like there's an algorithm that replaces a lot of accountants. So a lot of accountants just have to be better at what they're doing, know how to use certain software, and just be good at it. But I'm telling you, man, what you guys are so lucky Elon released ChatGPT, and the fourth iteration of it is on the whatever, it's out or something like that. Because I mean, I guess that's kind of a rule in this world, in the simulation, is like, before you shoot someone in the head, you have to tell them you're about to do it. And that's what I'm getting from all this stuff. But it's not a bad thing. That's where you have to tap into your inner genius. That's where you have to awaken your apex self, because apex humans will be able to drive these technologies and drive these things, because they'll be tapped into the source code. If you're disconnected from the source code, there's going to be a washing out and a getting rid of, and you will be completely replaced. And the replaceable people, that's fine. That just happens. It's part of life. It's not like something to worry about. And if you're part of the replaceable people, you won't even know it. I mean, when you're replaced, you literally, I mean, you'll feel bad at first, but at a certain point, they'll be like, okay, there's too many people here. And they'll just be like, oh, and they'll just like, oh man, that was a weird dream. Like something happened and that was a really bad nightmare. You just be in another reality. You won't even know that you've been replaced. Okay. So your replaceability factor is what makes parents superior to children, is that they are less replaceable. Children are cute, children are lovable and they're amazing, but they can be replaced by siblings. They can be replaced by the children of future spouses or whatever. And what happens is the challenges that those children presented are now like, it's like irrelevant. Now I'm investing my energy into this new batch of children. And that's just how it has been for thousands of years. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually what led to things like Deuteronomy and Exodus, where it says, honor your parents, so your days will be prolonged. Because imagine if you have this wise old father who's in his 60s and you and him share genetic material. And so he knows what happens at age 50 and what happens at age 59. And so he knows, like, at these ages, these things happen for me. And imagine you've been dishonoring him your whole life. You've been causing him a lot of heartache and pain and struggle. And you haven't actually contributed your best and been the best that you can be. And then you've got a sibling that has been that. You know, the inheritance is not just money. Sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes it's time. Sometimes it's the secrets of how to live a good life and have great relationships. But modern people don't understand that, especially in the West. I was lucky to be in parts of the world where the young people still appreciate and honor the elders. And to see that is just delicious. It's so beautiful to see. And those are the ones that won't be replaced by AI. Okay? So keep that in mind. AI, quantum computing. With AI and quantum computing, you can create souls. You can create souled beings that are automatons, which you can program them to do certain things, and they will carry those things out. And they will have absolutely no self-interest because you can delete that possibility in their code when you're setting them up. And these things are just, they exist, and I'll just say that. So, I talked about irreplaceability factor. Parents are irreplaceable, children are. There's a natural order. Those that provide resources and those that are irreplaceable are at the top of that natural order, and everybody else that's replaceable is beneath that. And again, this is why, there's been a male supremacy in a lot of ways. Men were more scarce. Men were travelers. They were fighters. Their bodies were built for resilience. They could sleep outside. They could deal with the cold and fight animals. And I'm not talking about like Stone Age type stuff. I'm just talking about in the various iterations between golden ages. Men were just more resilient. And as a result, a lot of them did die in war, in fighting animals, and all these other hunting, going out in the world. And so, the vast majority of people were females and children when you came back to the camps. And men that lived into older age not only have lots of wisdom, they could pick up on the changing of seasons and the smell of animal herds moving and the oncoming of marauding raiders and things like that. They could do that. And so they were an irreplaceable commodity within society. Women and children died all the time, and they were very replaceable. You just make another kid. Women were kind of replaceable, but they were not really replaceable. But they were in that medium ground, and so it was men that you wanted because men brought back the high value foodstuffs of proteins and like animals brought back from a kill and things like that. Of course, the women, and this is mainstream history, but mainstream history is kind of true in this. Women were gathering the fruits and the vegetables and things like that. Men were going out and killing the denser, nutrient dense foods like the animals and bringing them back, and that just made them much more valuable. And as a result, they were less replaceable. And so, because the thing is, a man could always go to another tribe, and if he was strong enough, he could subdue their males or kill off their males and impregnate all the females. But no woman could go to another tribe and impregnate all the males. So it's all about like irreplaceability. Mainstream psychology has gotten in the way of how parental supremacy has reigned, has ruled. And so parental supremacy is something that creates strong societies because you have mother and father as God, and then you have child, but you have father, then mother, then child. And because the father protects mother, mother protects child, and father protects mother and child. And then, that's just kind of how it is. Um, and so mainstream psychology tells people, oh, resent your parents. And they were wrong. Your mother was this and your father was that. And you need to work with your trauma. And I get it. Okay, work on your trauma. But remember, your parents went through whatever they had to go through, and they did what they did to make sure you lived long enough to grow up and resent them, to grow up and to fear or to hate or whatever, to judge them. And so always remember that, keep that in mind. Mainstream psychology, religion, Western society, even science has failed to uphold the honor of parents. And that's going to be to the detriment of these systems. They will fall. They will fail in time. Failures in this whole process led to an inferior society over time and savagery among the people. Crime increased, savagery, male degradation, female degradation as well. Uh, Male strength lost, female purity lost. And again, I'm speaking for the vast majority of people. Um, and so that's kind of what's unfolded again. And I could talk about golden ages, but people don't care about golden ages. I do. Uh, I've been lucky to experience them, and real golden ages don't last like 5 or 10 years, but last for like millennia. And it's a beautiful thing. It's easy to forget that bad exists when you live in a golden age, and you do for generations and intergenerations. All right, let's close down. Where I'm at 17 minutes. That's pretty good. All right, apex human awakening and geopolitical society. In such a society of apex awakened individuals, parents occupy their natural place of supreme authority. Supreme authority is something that the child must submit to, and then in time, the child gains that supreme authority in their own life. They earn it, you know. And it's not, and it, again, there's not drama involved in this, or trauma, or fighting, or war. It's just a child grows up in its environment, and there's joy for the child because children are joyful creatures. They come into this world and they're just naturally happy. The children that are born unhappy in the Western society are due to a lot of the poisons that are in the system and their mother's system. A lot of the women are filled with poisons. And that gets into the children, and then children are born unhappy and weird and all that other stuff. But naturally, children are just born happy. They're happy creatures. They're happy, happy little creatures. And they're so beautiful and they're so awesome. But they are still, unfortunately, replaceable. Uh, but the happiness of a child is just a gift to society, and it is protected and it is maintained by a supreme authority of mother and father. Mother is God, and she passes authority over to father, and that is what allows for children, little precious children, to live full, happy, joyful lives, and in time earn their authority in society and their supremacy. Now, again, in the golden ages, children were born with authority, and that was cultivated in them, but uh, but they still developed like power and influence in society over time and earned it. Okay, children learn to see that they are replaceable in a functional society, and they're compelled to honor their parents. And it's not so much compulsion as it is they just see the logic and the reason behind it. They don't go, why would I respect my dad? Everybody in society respects your dad. And nobody in society will let you disrespect your dad. And same with your mom. And by the way, your actions, how you carry yourself in the world, how you present yourself in the world, that's going to be indicative of the kind of respect you have for your parents. If you're having intercourse with 100 or 1,000 men, like the Phillips girl, that's an affront to your parents. It is a curse to your parents, and that's why in old societies they would just stone those people. Unfortunately, um, you know, people that were involved in that, that's just what they did. And that's also what thinned the herd, and that's what made humans a little smarter. Because when you see somebody get stoned to death for doing something that you thought you were thinking about doing, you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to go back and make some chairs. I think I'm going to go back and bake some bread. I think I'm going to wash some dishes. You're just like, yeah, and they would stone kids too, you know. And this is, I'm not condoning it. I don't think it was the right thing to do. But that's just how they maintained order. And we've gotten to a point where we've gotten so soft and so afraid of that we just aren't willing to even chastise children and say, hey, look, what you're doing is not correct. You can do better, and I expect it. And let's see you do it. You know, in a society that works, those sorts of statements would compel a child to do better, and they would find a way to do better. We all did. I mean, even when I was growing up, it was much more strict than it is now, and you just found a way to do better. All right. Mainstream psychology seeks to mend relationships rather than seek retribution in place. Excuse me. Mainstream psychology. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. In an apex awakened human society that's driven by geopolitical Christian perspective, mainstream psychology actually aids in mending relationships rather than seeking retribution and placing blame. You know, yeah. And then again, in an apex awakened society, a superior society is created with peace, plenty, purity, power, and purpose. And those things reign in the human experience. So, like I said, parents are superior, and this is something that you'll see in advanced societies. There's a natural order. Parents are superior to children by nature because they're irreplaceable. The more irreplaceable you are within society, the more valuable you are. The more, and by the way, you have to be an irreplaceable, valuable component. You can't just be the only person that can do like a slip knot in a basket weave or something. I don't know. Only person in the world that can do that. And there's no one has a use for it. Then who cares? And so that's how that is. So there's a natural order. Parents are supreme, and parents are irreplaceable, and that's what allows them to be above children. And so for the people that think, oh, it's just a patriarchal thing for children to be underneath parents, that's just patriarch. Because in matriarchal societies, it was all love. We all just sat around the fire and we smoked weed and we felt good and worshiped the earth. And there's a lot of fantasy lies we like to tell ourselves. And again, when you use logic and reason, you hear these lies and then you go, wait a second. In matriarchal societies, they sacrificed a lot of children. And you say, oh, they don't want you to know that. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you just read the history. Look at all the matriarchal societies with matriarchal structures. Very, very common for them to do child sacrifice. So think about that. All right. So in closing, always in closing. Okay. Why is geopolitical Christianity essential? We're at 23 minutes. Why is geopolitical Christianity essential for the future of the species? Because it creates a prosperous global future and the first flourishing human civilization of this age. Geopolitical Christians look like the 1%. We are the elite, the true elite. We have health, and all that other wonderful stuff, connections, relationships. And again, these are things that that are reflected in each individual. Like it's wealth and health as it pertains to you as an individual. So, what is righteousness? Righteousness is choosing an apex human awakening and leads to a life of success, harmony, pleasure, prosperity, wealth, and power. We must seek the kingdom of God first. You find it through prayer, meditation, solitude, scripture, and fellowship. The divine earthly empire is driven by 7 core principles: prosperity, purpose, pleasure, peace, productivity, purity, and power. There are 4 pillars of geopolitical Christianity and the golden age that such apex awakening will bring, and that's moral objectivism, intrinsic virtue, transcendent self-awareness, and rational self-interest. There are 7 deadly sins that we must avoid, and these are sacrifice, struggle, suffering, scarcity, stupidity, slavery, and savagery. Expanding our lives is possible with evidence-based compassion. Yes, we see the world around us and we love those around us. We are kind to our neighbors, as Jesus has called us to be, love our neighbors. But we refrain from compassion without evidence as to its value for us. We must be rationally selfish. Just being compassion exposes you, just having compassion for everyone exposes us to vulnerabilities, deception, harm, and being taken advantage of. So, thank you guys for watching. This was Parental Supremacy, and yay! I'm all caught up. This is good. So good. All right. Thank you guys for watching in the future. Have a good night.